Hi, I'm Dr. John Douillard. Welcome to LifeSpa.com. And today I want to talk about meat. How much meat are we supposed to eat? Are we supposed to eat any meat at all? I've written a bunch of articles about this at LifeSpa.com if you want to check out the article associated with this video. But the bottom line is that the average American male gets about 100 grams of protein per day. The average female gets about 70. The recommendation from the U.S. Food and Nutrition Board is about half of that. So we're clearly eating easily twice as much meat as we should, if we should actually eat any. And then that's the question: should we be a vegetarian or should we be meat eaters? And that's a discussion I want to talk to and deal with today. It's an important discussion. The centenarians who live over 100 years old on average, they generally get about 10% of their diet as animal protein. I think that is a good goal for everyone. If half the planet ate 10 to 15% of their diet as animal protein, we wouldn't have food shortages, we wouldn't have issues feeding the planet as with a growing population. That's not going to be the issue. But that's not the case right now. We eat way more meat than we should, way more meat than we need. In fact, studies show, one big study of the Journal of American Medicine showed that they had one group of 150,000 people, one group reduced their or increased their intake of meat by just a half a portion of meat per day. And they found that it increased their risk of type 2 diabetes by 48%. Then the next group reduced their meat consumption by just a half a portion per day. And that resulted in a reduction of type 2 diabetes risk by 15%. So, and that's just one study, but that's the Journal of American Medicine study. It's a pretty significant study, really well done study. So it is important to realize that, meat has its issues, and anything you eat in excess becomes, a real problem. There's a chemical in red meat called TMAO, which is a cancer-causing chemical. One of the things that's linked to the high risk of cancer when people eat a lot of meat. And there's the grass-fed and grain-fed issue that's real for sure. Definitely, the more grass-fed meat you eat, the better. The less, but what they found with vegetarians was that vegetarians produce very, very little TMAO when they eat from their diet. But when meat eaters eat it, they eat a significant amount of TMAO. When they actually gave vegetarians meat, after them being vegetarians for a period of time, when they gave them the meat that normally causes the TMAO, it didn't cause the increase of TMAO in the vegetarians, suggesting that if you have a vegetarian diet, a mostly plant-based diet, and you have a little bit of meat, it's no big deal. But if you eat meat every single day, then you build up this TMAO, this cancer-causing chemical that can actually become a problem. So I think that then you ask the question, well, should we be vegetarians or should we be meat eaters? And no doubt that the ideal diet would be not to have to kill anything for us to survive. That would be ideal. That said, there are no vegetarian hunter-gatherers. That didn't exist. So it's only been the last couple of thousand years that anybody ever decided to be a vegetarian. And that was always based on religious and ceremonial kind of reasons and so on. So the question is, do we have the genetics to be healthy vegetarians? And I think the answer is maybe some do and some don't. And I have seen been in practice for over almost 40 years now, and I've worked with lots of spiritual groups and vegetarians who some did really well and some really didn't do very well. So you really have to ask the question as an individual, can I actually handle that? Now, if you are going to be a vegetarian, then you need to supplement. There's no question about it. You need supplements like omega-3 fatty acids and iron and calcium and minerals and vitamin B12 and vitamin D. You do need to make sure that you're getting your nutritional needs met, because when you go completely vegan, there are going to be some missing nutrients that can actually put you in harm's way. In fact, one study showed that vegans had the highest risk of dementia as they got older. Of all the people who live the longest, the study shows that the pescatarians, ones that actually eat fish as their source of animal protein, they actually live the longest. Of all the different types of vegetarians, lacto-ovo vegetarians, vegans, all that, they found that the pescatarians were the ones that lived the longest, which is there are issues with fish, but that's just what the science says, so that's important. So the bottom line is that a lot of us really need to move the needle and realize that, do I need so much animal protein? Can I dial that down to 10 to 15% of my diet, slowly doing that over time? That actually provides you with health benefits that are well documented. And then if you're a vegetarian, are you putting yourself at risk because you're not getting enough protein that you need to stabilize blood sugar and mood? And for that, and because I had so many patients over the years that were crashing and burning with joint aches, with dizziness, fatigue, insomnia, unable to stabilize their moods, shaking. I had so many patients who were vegetarians, and then I would say, you know what, why don't you just go get some red meat as medicine and see if you do that for a couple of days and see how you would feel. And I would see miracles. You know, one woman, I remember, she said that she took red meat for the first time, any meat for the first time in 26 years. And so the first time she slept through the night in 26 years. I've had so many experiences of folks who really want to be a vegetarian, and there's no higher, better reason to be a vegetarian than not wanting to kill anything. But you know, you have to ask the question, is it worth me becoming sick if I don't have the genetics to pull that off? So I think you have to look at it as an individual. I did write an article, a free ebook called the Protein Deficiency ebook, which goes into the details of making sure that if you are a vegetarian, you're not running the risk of actually being, having problems. When you are low in protein, the first place your body will go to get that protein is the synovial fluid of your joints. There's about 256 proteins in every sac around every joint. And when you lose your muscles, that protein goes and does tissue repair for those muscles. But if you are vegetarian and you're not getting the protein that you need, which means basically beans, 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 beans. If you're a vegetarian, you're not eating beans, you're probably going to crash and burn. So when you don't get that protein, the first place you go is your joint synovial fluid sacs. Your joints begin to ache. You start feeling creaky, and then you start having pain and inflammation in your joints. It can affect your mood, your energy, your mind, your focus, your memory. It can affect your sleep in a big, major way. It actually aggravates, and Ayurveda is called vata. It aggravates your vata, which means that you don't have that ability to calm yourself down. And then when you give folks red meat, which is the most acidic protein, so anything that's acidic will store and drive deeply into your tissues, where green foods, alkaline foods, will cleanse you and detoxify you, which we want in the spring and the summer. But in the winter, it's brown food, rebuilding food. Grains are brown, they're more acidic. Meat is brown, it's more acidic. And they're designed to penetrate and rebuild and rejuvenate in the winter months. So this is the time of the year where digestion is stronger in the wintertime, when we could eat more animal protein. Eating a bunch of animal protein in the summer when you can't eat the foods out of your garden fast enough and killing an animal makes zero sense. But when there's nothing to eat, then actually hunting was the thing that we survived by eating more animal protein in the winter months. So this is a time where more protein and fat kind of are amped up in the seasonal eating diet. And then of course in the spring and the summer, it's significantly more plant-based. But then you have to dial in your individual needs. What does 10 to 15% of the animal protein look like in your diet, and kind of figure out what it is that you need for the amount of animal protein, if any, to be healthy and to feel really good. But the bottom line is most people do not need meat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They really only need 10 to 15%, and that would be a goal for everyone. And then those folks who want to take it further, you can take it being smart about proper supplementation, doing it the right way, where you don't crash and burn. Please read the article here at LifeSpa.com. While you're there, sign up for our newsletter, and on your way out, check out our Ayurvedic store. Lots of Ayurvedic products, all organic, for you to check out. Thanks for listening. I'm Dr. John Douillard.